Good afternoon, Professor Pierre-Louis Lyons, Mr. Arnaud Barthélemy, the Consul General of France in Hong Kong and Macau, and the President, Professor Wei Kuo, honorary guests, colleagues, friends, and fellow students. I'm Jian Lu, the Vice President, Research and Technology of the City University of Hong Kong, and the facilitator for today's lecture. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to the France-Hong Kong Distinguished Lecture Series. It's our great honor and pleasure to have Professor Lyons, Professor of the Collège de France and École Polytechnique, and a member of the French Academy of Sciences, field medalist in 1994, here today to give us a talk with the title on Mean-Field Games. Before I invite Professor Lyons to the stage, may I invite our President, Professor Wei Kuo, to say a few words. Professor Kuo, please.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to also invite Professor Lyons and Pierre-Louis Lyons. And I look at those who sit on the front row. 8 of 9 speak French. And so in the first row, the French is the most popular language. But I want to ask many students here, what is the most common language used on Earth? Huh? Chinese? Italian? English? Anything else? Spanish? No. Mathematics. Okay. You see, easy quiz, mathematics. The mathematics, the common underpins the curriculum and the recognition of CTU. Not only the first row, many of them expert, and of course, Philippe Serlin here and Steve Smale, who's taking leave. And also this year's Distinguished Research Award, Philip, is Philip here? Yes, sorry. It's also, all these really made a significant contribution to the university. And our speaker today, Professor Lyons, is, of course, youngest field medalist among those field medalist winners at CTU, and which is a true statement, right? He laughs. And he's also honorary graduate of City University Hong Kong. And I'm sure you're here to listen to his talk, not my introduction. But remember, the most common language that we use is mathematics. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Kuo. So now I would like to invite Mr. Arnaud Barthélemy, the Consul General of France in Hong Kong and Macau, to give an opening speech. So Mr. Barthélemy, please.
Thank you. I'm not very good when it comes to speaking in mathematics language. And I suspect not all of you speak French, so I will stick to English for now, and I will leave the mathematics to people who know this language much, much better than I do. Professor Pierre-Louis Lyons, President, dear Wei Kuo, Vice President, dear Jian Liu, Professor Xiale, cher Philippe, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm very pleased to be here and to have the privilege to take the floor just before one of the most renowned French mathematicians, a master of numbers, curves, and symbols. Actually, last time I took part in the France-Hong Kong Distinguished Lecture Series, it was to introduce Professor Anne Cheng, who is, as you know, a very famous sinologist, and she addressed the audience about the issue of intellectual history of China, and in particular about Confucianism. Well, as you can imagine, I completely failed to provide any clarity on the matter while trying to introduce her. So I guess the challenge today would be even more difficult for me, so I will not even try to do so, and I will limit myself to presenting our guest today. But before I start doing that, I want to pay tribute to the France-Hong Kong Distinguished Lecture Series. They have been organized here in CTU, with CTU, since 2005, and they have become a tradition, and I think they have become an institution. And thanks to this initiative, CTU has welcomed some of the most prestigious, some of the most prominent French researchers. So let me mention some of them. Professor Jean-Marie Laine, who is a Nobel Prize of Chemistry in 1987. Professor Cohen Tanuji, Nobel Prize in Physics in 1997. Professor Jean Salençon, who is with us in this room, who is the former president of the French National Academy of Sciences. He liked his stay in Hong Kong so much that now he decides to come back regularly. Professor Albert Fair, Nobel Prize in Physics in 2007. So you see, 87, 97, 2007, France has been having impressive results. So I think we should be extremely hopeful and optimistic for 2017. But let me go on with the all these prominent people. Professor Jean-Christophe Yoko's Fields Medal in 1994 was invited here as well, and more recently, in May 2014, Professor Yves Bréchet, High Commissioner for Atomic Energy Agency, and Professor Maxime Schwartz, who is former director of Institut Pasteur, and today, last but not least, Professor Pierre-Louis Lyon, who won the Fields Medal in 1994. I think this impressive lineup was made possible for two reasons. The first one is that France boasts many world-class scientific institutions and prominent world-class researchers. And of course, this is obvious when you look at the number of Nobel Prizes or Fields Medals which have been awarded to French nationals, and including, of course, two this year. France this year won two Nobel Prizes, one in literature and one in economy. And the second reasons why this impressive lineup was made possible is because of the commitment of one person, the Professor Philippe Ciarlet. Professor, you are the father, if I may say, of the lecture series, and you have therefore been completely instrumental in boosting this scientific cooperation between France and Hong Kong. And of course, I want to thank also all the other actors and people who made this lecture possible. Of course, the City University of Hong Kong, CTU, which kindly hosts us this time, as it hosted the previous ones. And I want to thank in particular its president, Weiko, and Jianlu, who is doing so much for the cooperation between France and Hong Kong. And I want to thank as well the Hong Kong chapter of the Légion d'honneur. Dear Professor Pierre-Louis Lyon, born in Grasse, in the south of France, a city more famous for perfume and being close to the sea than for mathematics. When I used to go, I go quite often to Grasse actually, and I don't study mathematics there, that's for sure. But you pursued your education in the famous École Normale Supérieure, probably inspired by your father, Jacques-Louis Lyon, who was also a famous mathematician. You committed yourself to fundamental research in mathematics, and you presented your thesis to the University Pierre et Marie Curie in 1979. Since then, you have been actively involved with the French Centre National de la Recherche Scientifique, where you became Director of Research. You were appointed a professor at Université Paris-Dauphine in 1981. You are professor of the Collège de France since 1992, and since 1995 you are professor of applied mathematics at École Polytechnique. Well, I'm sure many of you are familiar with these institutions, but for any French person, this is an impressive lineup of the most elitist, the most demanding, the most prestigious French institutions. Professor Lyon, you have made major contributions to the mathematics in many areas, from probability theory to the Boltzmann equation and nonlinear partial differential equations. I'm really not sure I understand what I'm saying right now, but I think I will not be wrong saying that these contributions had a strong impact on many other areas of mathematics and various sciences such as physics, mechanics, chemistry, or engineering sciences. And I speak under your control, Jianlu. Your outstanding contributions have won you wide international recognition and many prestigious awards, including the Doisteau-Bleuté Foundation Prize and the Ampère Prize, both awarded by the French Academy of Sciences, and also the IBM Prize, which is not awarded by the French Academy of Sciences, as you can imagine. Most notably, in 1994, you received the Fields Medal, which, as you all know, is the highest possible award for achievement in mathematics, and which is the equivalent of the Nobel Prize in other sciences. Member of the French Academy of Sciences, of the Naples Academy of Sciences, and of the European Academy, you have been invited to visit or give lectures in many prestigious universities in the United States, in Poland, in Japan, in Israel, in Switzerland, in Germany, in Italy, and today in Hong Kong. Well, for all these reasons, I want to finish by saying that it is a pride for the French consulate to welcome you here in Hong Kong, and it is a privilege for us and for the whole academic community of Hong Kong to be able to listen to you today. Thank you for your attention.